Well, hello, lovely listeners. Today I have the wonderful Emma Wright. Emma Wright in sunny Devon, I think it is. Is it Devon? Yeah, she's got
It
a
sure is, North Devon.
North Devon. She's got a beautiful cottage, which I happened to see online at some point. So, thank you, Emma, for being here today. Emma is, well, in a previous life, Emma is all about wealth and finance by the looks of it. You're an ex-trader, investment banker. You were a qualified chartered financial planner, wealth manager, but you're also a life coach, a financial coach. You do public speaking. You've got your own podcast, which I think is called Host of Wealth Unchained. Is that right?
It used to be Wealth
Host of
Unchained, and we've
Wealth
just
Unchained.
relaunched.
Wealth Unchained, sorry.
Yeah, it's we've just relaunched as the Wealth Rebels show
Ah,
because we've all got an inner wealth rebel in us, and it just felt really natural to kind of pivot and change.
amazing. Okay, cool. And you've also founded three businesses. You do independent wealth, you have one-to-one financial planning, you've got a coaching consultancy, you work with ambitious entrepreneurs, and people that are ready to level up, basically. And I'm sure lots more besides. So it's all wealth, abundance, obviously coaching, all that wonderful stuff. Which I'm intrigued to hear your story and how you impact people now because, and I know people listening, everybody wants to know how the hell to be wealthy, right? And you also mentioned on your bio about planet first. I presume you're talking about the Earth. Is that right?
Yes, at the Earth, 100%. The whole planet, wildness, nature, planet first, without feeling like we have to give up on our wealth at the same time, because we really can have that planet first approach, but also live a life that we love. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big thing that I'm very passionate about.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll hear more about that. So, welcome. It's amazing to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, as always, Emma, me and the listeners and the viewers, we love a bit of a backstory. And obviously, it sounds to me, anyway, from what I've just read through, how, you've done a lot, and your focus has been very much in the finance world. So, I would love to know, obviously, where that love and passion came from. But also take us back as far as you want to go in terms of your journey, because I'd love to know the inspiration, from when you were a kid, what got you into all of that, and then how you've pivoted over your lifetime and obviously took you to where you are now. So over to you.
Oh, Mel, I mean, your podcast is so perfectly suited to kind of this story because I think I have never settled
Mm,
for what's right there in front of me. I'm a big dreamer. And when my heart and my soul fall in love with something, it's just I follow my intuition and I follow the breadcrumbs. So from a really, really young age, I've just really dived into the things that I love really deeply. And I always loved maths. Total maths nerd. Absolutely loved maths. Did maths a year early at school. Went on to do chemistry, biology, and maths at A level. For some reason, I was awarded the sixth form prize because I loved it so much, not because I was the best. And I always talk about this a lot. All the things that I've achieved in my life haven't been because I'm the best at it. It's because I do something that I love. I put my heart and soul into it and I show up for it like a total nerd with my glasses, and I just throw everything into it. And when I throw everything into it, really good things happen and something else will show up. And then it's like the universe always is always rewarding you when you follow that heart and that intuition. And it's really interesting. I grew up in Bradford, okay? Um, Back in the day, this was many years ago. I left school in 1996, 1998. I finished my A levels, or was it year 1998? And I was in uni between 2001 and 2004. So a long time ago that I was in Bradford, and I did not know what trading was. When I was doing maths, it was like formulas. It really wasn't about money. I just was good at solving a formula. Nobody taught me about money, really. Nobody taught me about investing. And it was because I decided I wanted to go to university because there was no way that I was staying in Bradford. Love Bradford. I love going back there, but I had these big visions and I wanted to actually, funnily enough, I wanted to be a marine biologist because of my love for the planet first, my love of the oceans, and my science background. And for some reason, and this came massively probably from my gut and my intuition, on my forms when I was filling it out, I was like, I'm going to apply for accounting and finance. And it was only when I went to university that I stumbled across trading and we started learning about the stock market at university. And I started going down another rabbit hole, if you like, following that, like, this is really cool. And I remember doing my dissertation at university, analysing EasyJet and Ryanair and the differences between the two. And I realised this is what I want to do. I want to go into the stock market. I feel, as I reflect on this a lot, I realised because I grew up in a bubble in Bradford, I didn't realise people got scholarships. I didn't realise that wealth was really a thing. I didn't grow up around very rich, wealthy people. I grew up in, around what I would say just really normal working class people,
Yeah.
where if you worked hard, you went to that next level. So in my head, I never felt limited. I really believed that I was going to be a trader and I was going to be on the dealing floor. And all I had to do was work hard and go after my dreams. And that's what happened. I just worked hard, followed my dreams, and through the years, I ended up in the front office of a major investment bank. I started out at Citigroup, which was one of the US biggest banks, and I just applied for the job and I got it
Mhm.
up against people with scholarships. And because I didn't fear, I didn't know about people with scholarships. I didn't even know people did internships. They were like, "Oh, how did you get this job? Did you get an internship with blah blah blah?" And I was like, "Who's that?" No, I didn't. I just wanted that job. It's exactly what I'd studied. And I think that put me at an advantage because I was in a bubble and I was constantly coming out of the bubble and I had no fear. And I never settled. I knew what I wanted next and I just went for it. And it was like a little bit of
I
yeah, really abundant kind of journey.
I love that because, like you said, there was no self limitations there because you weren't even aware that that stuff existed, right? So you were just like, well, this is my expertise. This is what I've just studied. Why wouldn't I be, considered for this job? And so your energy was in that frequency,
Yeah.
and you got it. It reminds me of when my son applied to be an apprentice at Google. Now there was something crazy like 5,000 applicants or something crazy, and there were 17 places, and he got one. And it was like it came to him so easy, and it sounds like exactly what you've just said there, because there was no limitations, there was no fear. It was a kind of, well, I'll just do it and see what happens. And then it's just sort of landed in his lap almost. So yeah, I love that.
And that is so important to remember is that when you have no fear and you just are going after something, things just fall in your lap.
Yeah,
And they do.
yeah,
And it's just energy because when you are fearful, and I think this is why I felt so blessed because I was in that Bradford bubble almost that, the world's my oyster. I'm gonna go out there and be whatever I want to be. And I was lucky because I was not told that I couldn't ever be whatever I wanted to be. My parents just let me dream. They encouraged me. They didn't even tell me. I don't even think they sat down with me whenever I picked my options. I sat down, I took myself off, and I would go and I'd write down what I wanted to do in my life. And I did it on my own. And sometimes I had a really close relationship with my teachers. And I think this is, again, I feel really lucky. I had really good friendships, genuine friendships with all my teachers. I loved school. And I remember saying to, this is funny actually, I remember saying to my English teacher when I was doing my university application, because I was really close to her, even though English was not my forte, numbers is, she said, I said, I'm going to put English down because I loved her. I'm going to do something with English at uni. She was like, nah, you're really good at maths. Um, this is what you're really good at. So I did get a little bit of like advice without realizing it, but my parents never limited me. They always just, encouraged me to just be me 100%. And because I was able to be me, when I went into the working world, it was actually when I went into certain working worlds that I think it starts to chip away at you, because then you realize that's when the fear starts to build in, and it can dim your vibration and it can dim your light a little bit. And sometimes we have to then realize this and build that resilience back up over time, because that's the real world.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Your parents sound awesome, by the way.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, so what happened next then? So you beat the odds, according to some people, and you started your career. So sort of was it everything you you wanted at that time? What happened next?
It was everything that I wanted. That time of my life in London, working for the major banks, I feel really blessed. I was very frustrated when we left the EU, because I feel like being in the EU meant that I ended up working with people from all over the world. My friends were from all over the world. Every day I was on a trading floor at the age of 22, all the way through my 20s, working with these incredibly smart people that were my friends. We used to do so many fun things, inside and outside of work. My life was incredible. And I traveled the world because I earned a really good living. I went to places that most people were not even, weren't even aware of, or even on the map. I'd go back to Bradford, and I think I still sound like a girl from Bradford. I'd go back and they'd go, "Oh, you sound really posh, Em, you've changed." And I'm
Yeah.
like, I have not changed. And this is one thing that I'm really proud about. I have not changed. I've not lost my Bradfordness. I might sound a little bit more posh, but I genuinely, wholeheartedly loved that time in my life. I made the best friends and friendships and connections. And the only reason I left that time is because we hit a financial crisis. And you know, they closed down my trading desk,
Mm,
and everyone's going to be made redundant. I can't sit and wait to get to be made redundant. I'm like, okay, what shall I do next? Where shall I pivot to? And I retrained to join a different desk, and I didn't like it. And that's when I started to invest in qualifications for my own money to become a chartered financial planner and to do something differently with wealth rather than working with hedge fund managers. And I also had this dream. I think I was a little bit done with being in London. I
mm,
wanted to be surfing, I wanted to be by the beach. I'd fallen in love with North Devon. I was dating a guy from North Devon who we ended up getting married. At the time we got married, we're getting divorced at the minute, which is the 10-year timely interesting time. But he was living in North Devon. He grew up in North Devon, and I realised that whilst my life in London in that time was incredible, I was shifting into a different energy, into a different. I think I was kind of running out of energy for London life, because it was very high energy, really fun, really amazing. But I was changing, and
mm,
that was okay, because we change and we have different periods of our life where we had different energies. But yeah, it was the most amazing time of my life, I
mm.
have to say. There's not a part of it that I don't look back on and feel really blessed.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't matter. We sometimes we look back on life and we have regrets, or we think we have regrets at the time, but actually everything happens for a reason, and it's all about the character building, it's all about the experience, it's all about the soul development, the spiritual development, if that's your thing. And so you had to do that to get it out your system almost. That was exactly the Emma of back then. The high flying, traveling, money earning, all of this sort of stuff. It was all what you'd envisaged. And then, like you said, you shifted, and I guess your husband was a big part of that shift, and you wanted to be more back with the planet Earth, right? And less with the concrete, and less with the superficial, and which London can be, etc. So okay, so then that next chapter, you're in Devon, and you become a financial planner, is that right?
Yeah, so I very easily, naturally found a new route and started to grow in financial planning. And what was interesting in this time was I left London because I wanted to have a beach life. And I ended up working harder than ever.
Yeah.
I ended up working more hours. I was driving around the UK constantly. And I actually ended up losing myself in
Right.
that time. I ended up not being very happy, feeling completely disconnected from who I was. I started to lose myself completely. And I don't believe that wasn't meant to happen because I have had the biggest spiritual journey this year. It started probably around when my little boy was born in um 2018, but this year has been a huge wake up for me spiritually. And I now look back and realize that when I left London because I was ready to be more connected to nature and I wanted to be kind of, like you say, getting down to earth. I had a horse I wanted to ride, and I just found that I came and it wasn't at all what it should have been, but it had to happen because I had to learn some really important life lessons. And I learned about financial planning and wealth, and I started to realize that whilst the wealth management industry is, the wealth management industry was very different to what I was expecting because the investment banking world had a different energy. People often ask me, working with all those guys, it must have been hard being the only girl. I was like, no, it was amazing. They put me forward. I was never held back. When I came into the wealth management industry, it was a different energy. And it was about selling products. And it wasn't about putting the planet first. It wasn't about putting clients first. And I realized by the time I had my little boy in 2018, I'd been there doing it for 4 years. I just realized I couldn't sell solutions. And it wasn't about the planning, it wasn't about what I really was passionate about. And that's when I realized after I had my little boy Harry that I needed to leave, and I found coaching,
Mm.
and I discovered coaching, and I discovered the power of coaching. And at that time, when I found the power of coaching, probably in 2019, 2020, after my little boy was about 12 months old, I thought I was going to reinvent the wheel because it was not really well known in the UK. I thought, wow, how is this not a thing? Coaching, educating people about their money. And I was very money focused at that time. I take a much more holistic approach to wealth today because I realized that wealth actually has nothing to do with money. Money is just a currency. And this is really empowering actually for people that are wanting to step into that wealth and never settle. But, you know, that shift out of selling products and that lesson and all the lessons that gave me made me realize what I stood for
Mm.
and what I stand for and what it was that I wanted to build in my own businesses and in my own entrepreneurship. And also, in that time, I started attracting as a wealth manager really amazing entrepreneurs, some of them that are still my clients today outside of regulated advice. They were launching amazing businesses that were putting the planet first, and they wanted to do investments that were putting the planet first. So we were creating investment solutions that were pro-planet that I got in trouble for because I was moving it out of the company's investments into things that were right for the clients. I was always a rebel. I was always
Yeah,
getting in
yeah,
trouble
yeah,
because I was putting
yeah.
the clients first, right? And in that time, because I was attracting in really pro-planet entrepreneurs, it
Can
made me
I ask?
realize, and I used
Can I ask, can I ask if you were doing that? Were you physically marketing to those people, or were they just coming?
I was, they were, I just they found me, and I don't know how
Or
they found me. And that is the universe. Now
yeah,
I know you magnetize in your energy when you know what you believe in and you really know what you believe in and what you stand for. They just found you. And actually, the more I had these conversations, the more they would show up. And we'd start designing these incredible investment solutions that were pro planet. And I realized that this is really what I believed in. And it was just so hard to do that within the constraints of where I was. And it really helped me to shift completely my energy and shift my focus. And I was in a big part of that time was that I really was in awe of entrepreneurs. I was like, how are you an entrepreneur? You have this idea and you've gone on and done this amazing business. And I was attracted to that. And I thought I can never be that. That's when my limiting beliefs started to come in. I was like, I can never be an entrepreneur. And I started to feel really stuck in that space. And that's when I discovered coaching and I realized that that was my gateway out to step into entrepreneurship by launching my own coaching business that has just really taken me on this entrepreneurial journey for myself to
Mm.
realize that entrepreneurship was always in my blood, in my DNA, in my numerology, everything. And it was what I came here to do. But I had to find my route to entrepreneurship very organically and intuitively through a very corporate route, right?
Yeah.
And that was just my journey.
Yeah, and I would say as well, like I always say, university held me back. I thought I was going to be a psychologist and talked myself out of it. I went the long way, Emma, and by the time I graduated at 23 or 22, 22, um, I talked myself out of the fact that, well, who am I to talk to a 50-year-old bloke about life choices and all the rest of it? So it was that imposter syndrome, which you've probably heard of, especially when you become a coach yourself. And so I ended up falling into a corporate career of sales. But when I was, when you go through the school system and then the university system, it's very indoctrinating in terms of what, it doesn't, it from my experience, it doesn't encourage that creativity. It doesn't encourage entrepreneurship. I suppose there are certain schools out there that do, but in the main, they don't. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but you sort of became part of that indoctrination, and so you went and got the high flying job. Well, this is everything it should be, and it was for a while. But then obviously something shifted in you, and that shift in you is that higher self, isn't it? It's not quite
Higher consciousness,
yeah, it's not
100%.
quite it's not quite ticking the boxes anymore. And then you went and tried something else, and you've got to know what you don't want to know what you do want, and it gets you ever closer, doesn't it? To, well, this isn't it. This is crap. And then you've obviously gone on, and presumably you had a coach yourself, and then that got your blood boiling in terms of you wanting to do that.
Yeah, I did well. I discovered coaching through a family member that had started coaching,
Ah, okay,
and then they said, can I just practice on you?"
right.
And then I was like, "This is really great. I'm really curious about this, and if anything that piques my curiosity, I've had my human design reading recently,
Ah,
and apparently I'm a 2/4 sacral generator. My gut, if I make noise and I go, ooh, that I need to do that. If I go, it's like
right,
just not
okay.
in. You know, if I'm interested or not interested. I'm like Jim Carrey in The Mask. I can't lie to myself or to anybody. My face says it all. And so when I was coaching, I was like, this is incredible. And that's when I did a life coaching certification. I had some free life coaching with a family member, and then I went on to do the coaching academy, life coaching,
Oh yeah.
and learning about beliefs and values. And at the time, I was quite overwhelmed by it. It was really overwhelming. I was like, how am I ever going to learn all of this? Yeah, I'd learned about financial derivatives and the stock market, but because I'd been chipped away at over the years, I wasn't chipped away at school. My school, and this is why I'm really passionate for my little boy and my little girl. I want them to go to a sports school that's really holistic, that
Yeah.
does lots of different things, that isn't just about academia, right? That's
Yeah.
about nurturing you for 100% who you are. because that's what my school was. It was really creative. We were allowed to be extremely creative. And even in my investment banking career, my managing director, we were creating structured products. We were manufacturing investment solutions. And then I was creating the literature and then I was selling it. I was doing all of it. We were such creative beings. It was only when I left that that creativity got crushed by the advice and the selling part of financial services. That's when I started to lose myself. And my marriage, if I'm honest, getting married for me didn't work for me because I had to then be a married person. And I just started to lose my whole sense of self. And that was a big part of my chipping away, but I had to be chipped away. I had to kind of go down and come back into myself to really find that bottom part in my life. And I keep hitting rock bottoms. It's a beautiful place because when you're at the bottom, you see, okay, where do I need to start building next? Because this is, I really believe that, especially for people my age, that's when you go through that um, awakening
Yeah.
almost, midlife, where you have that, they call it a midlife crisis. It's not a midlife crisis. You wake up to the fact that the first part of your life was all about learning lessons. It was soul school. And then you go into a second part of your life where you've learned your lessons, hopefully. If you're not
Mm.
learning your lessons, you're going to keep hitting the floor and learning your lessons. You learn your lessons, and then you're like, right, now I'm here to do my impact. Now I'm here to do what I came here to do. And so for me, my entrepreneurial genius, for me, my guru-ness for me came at the right time because it's all divine timing. I believe that everything happens to us for a reason. Life's happening for you, not to you. And that's why I've had some pretty crappy things happen to me, especially over the last 7 years. And everyone says to me, you're always smiling. You'll always get up. You wouldn't even know you were going through. I'm going through a divorce this year. You wouldn't even know. And I'm like, I don't hold grudges.
Mm.
I don't. I don't ever feel any regrets because I know that things just happened for a reason. I've always had this very deep. I think I've always had a really deep connection to my soul
Yeah.
without realizing it or being conscious of that part of me.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally resonate with everything you've just shared there. Um, in fact, somebody said to me this morning, um, I don't know how you are still smiling and how it's almost like water off a duck's back because I've got crap going on right now. It's been an interesting day, that's for sure. But and I just say the same thing. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And I just keep reminding myself of that because the rest of it's bollocks. Let's be honest. The pantomime that's playing out in front of our eyes or within us, however, whatever your beliefs are. It is just the material plane, which we're told could be a virtual reality, depending on what your beliefs are. And yes, we create it. Yes, I have created chaos in my life right now, but it's for a higher purpose that I can't seem to say no to. And without going into too much detail, I'm very much challenging the establishment and the corruptness of things. And that's got me into some hot water. But I have this innate belief that it's not going to all go to shit like I'm being advised. The divine orchestration, I had something happen yesterday, which was divine orchestration. I've had an email today, which is divine orchestration. Do you know what I mean? And I know that things are being lined up to allow me
Yeah,
to hopefully get justice and be a beacon, be a front runner for a system that has just been absolutely crucifying people for too long, right? And you were
yeah.
in the financial world, and I don't know what your thoughts are about all of that, but um, you know, from certain people that I know that were in that world, like you said, it wasn't for the client when you went to that financial planning. It was for the profit and the shareholders and everything else, presumably, um, like most corporations. And when you are guided and you can hear your higher self and you have that soul development, and you fully start to embrace it, like you said, in your 40s or late 30s or whatever, you can't unknow what you know, and you can't go back, can you?
No, it's all part of your it becomes a part of your insight. And I think, and one of the biggest things that I really kind of talk about a lot is that we have this story,
Mm.
but what we have to do is get out of the story. We have to know the story's there, look at the lessons, and take that higher perspective because our mind, and this is a big part of wealth. When I'm wealth coaching and I'm helping people to embody wealth at a different level, because our wealth is our vibration, it's our energy, it's our frequency, it's how you vibrate. And your mind, we are conditioned to live a mind life. Your mind is fear. It looks for threats and rewards. And that story is very and truly locked in your mind. And then that mind, if we allow it, will project forward the future reality. When we start to hear our soul and we realize that, because the mind is the soul's physical incarnation right now. And the mind is very beautiful. It serves a purpose. It allows us to learn and nurture and but it needs to get in line. It needs to calm down. It needs to stop having a paddy when it's not being the one that's in charge because it's learning to let go because we've had a millennia of societal conditioning within the wealth industry, within schools, within everything. We've been conditioned to be in our heads because when we're in our heads, we're in fear. And what happens when we're in fear? We buy things that we don't need. We take drugs that feed pharmaceutical companies, and we live a very, very unabundant lifestyle of being in the rat race to serve a higher few.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is the truth of it. We know the Matrix film is not, when they came out with the Matrix, now it's like, can I not take the red pill? Can I just go back to sleep? And this
Yeah.
is what, Mel, this is really important because I think when you become spiritually aware, they think, oh, it's all spiritual butterflies. You are becoming a light beacon. You're becoming a way shower. You're becoming that change maker, that rebel. I call myself the wealth rebel. It's not easy,
No.
actually. And the reason that you're doing that is because your soul, not everybody has come here to wake up, right? Not everyone's soul came here to have this experience. Some people's souls came here to be in the 3D matrix and just experience going to work, spending money on whatever, and being in that very materialistic life. Okay. Some souls decided to come and change the vibration of the planet right now to raise it up so that we can start making things different and better. And that your soul knew you were strong enough to do that right now. And it's come in and sometimes it feels like you are going through sticky mud.
Yeah.
When every time you go through the sticky mud, you get a little bit higher and you ascend and your vibration goes up. But then it's like that balloon, isn't it? It expands and contracts. And it's hard work being conscious because, when we look at the brain, scientific research has shown that, and this is what I learned in my financial coaching certification 4 years ago. And this was old knowledge, in my opinion, because it's my old way of being. We are 95% subconscious. We form beliefs and habits so that we don't have to be awake, that we can drive down the road and we don't even know how we've got there. And we're only 5% consciously making choices. So, how you treat your money, how you treat yourself, how you treat your relationships, how you treat your business is all down to the beliefs that you formed when you were 6 and 7, and then it carries through your life. And this is all the financial coaching. When you wake up, it's tearing the rule book up because we are then conscious, not just 5% of the time, all the time. And you're learning to manage this new energy and it's exhausting.
Mm.
So you're managing that. You're going through dark night of the soul, right? A lot of the times, which is that spiritual rebirth. You have to die to rebirth into this new way of being and becoming, and you're unbecoming to become really who you're going to be then for the rest of this part of your soul's journey
Mm.
in this life. And it's hard. And I just wanted to say that it's hard work. I feel
It is.
exhausted a
Yeah.
lot of the time.
Yeah, I never feel refreshed in the morning, that's for sure. And it was something my son said to me earlier. He said, I've stood on the sidelines and watched and accepted, this fight you've taken on. He says, but I don't get it because, you're this spiritual being and it's all about love and light and peace and all the rest of it. And I'm like, I know. And he's right in what he says in terms of, all we can, and this is what I say as well, all we can control is us, work on ourselves and how we react or respond in any situation, right? That's the only control that we've got. And there are, like you said, there are some of us that have come into this lifetime and been put in certain different places, and when you look at the very few people that have spoken out in Hollywood or the music industry or politicians, Andrew Bridgen being one of them, they're few and far between, and they've taken on an almighty challenge. And, some of them have not lived to tell the tale any longer, because there's so much corruption. And your logic goes, do you know what? I don't want to borrow that. I want to go back to love and light and all the rest of it. But there is just something that drives you on thinking, and I've said it a million times, well, not a million times, I've said it a few times, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? And that's all I
I
can
love
say.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So,
love that. You can't have the light without the dark.
mm,
In this world, we're a polarized planet. We have poles. It's duality. We can't have the good without the bad, right? And that's why it's a roller coaster. We have ups and downs. And one of the things that I'm learning on my journey, as I'm moving forwards and I just keep going forwards, is we need, and the biggest thing that keeps us stuck in fear, because the fear is the opposite of the love. The love is where we want to get to a place of a planet that loves each other and
yeah,
doesn't treat each other badly. That's the light. We have to face our fears, and we have to face all of our fears head on. A big part of why we lock in trauma, and this is what happened to me. I think when I left London, I was like flying high, and then it was like, right, start. It's time for Em to now start having some of those traumas. So or reminders of some of the early childhood traumas that I experienced when I was 7 and 8 years old, when my parents split up. Wasn't always love and light growing up.
yeah,
The parents were interesting still, but I would have a fear and then I would run away from it because it's the fight, flight, freeze response. We then lock trauma cycles in our body. What I'm now doing, I'm unraveling all of that because I'm facing the fear. Every time we face a fear, we release that energetic block in our body and we become lighter, we become more like beings, we become more incredible, we feel different. Every time we face a fear, it's really hard. And whether it doesn't matter, the outcome doesn't matter whether you win or lose the thing that's happening in the 3D. It's the fact that you are facing a fear, whether that's facing someone that's not being fair to you. It's how you deal with it. You face it head on with integrity, with your light, and then you faced it. Because on the other side, the reason that we don't face fears is, think about how the mind is conditioned. It thinks it's going to die. It's a lion. I'm going to get eaten if I face my fear and I face this lion and I don't run off or play dead, right? We're changing that. So the mind is kind of giving up the fight of trying to keep you safe so that you can be fearless, because when we're fearless we are in a much different energetic vibration. And I believe that all of those fearless people out there that have done amazing things in Hollywood, in the wealth industry, the people that do get that cancel culture that we do see all of the time, are those early way showers.
mm,
But the more of us that wake up, and I'm seeing it all the time, and the more I talk about this, every day someone new is coming to my life that is spiritual. And I'm like, where have you come from? This is really weird. It's just they just come in and start having these conversations and it blows my mind. And I don't have normal conversations ever anymore, which is great because normal
yeah,
conversations actually bore the life out of me. The more of us that wake up, naturally our vibration is going up as a collective, and that is influencing the dark energies, because that's why we are seeing the establishments crumbling.
Yeah.
That is why we're seeing cracks in the political systems around the world. And that I really believe that in the next 5 years and 10 years, the whole world, the way it operates, the diplomacy, the way that we trade, the way that we do business, the way that we are as beings is going to completely change. I think it'll change back to being wild. Where we are wild things. I really believe that we are rewilding the planet and coming back to being human beings, not human doings.
Yeah.
And so it's a very exciting time, and it is going to be down to the small few of us that are awake to do the work.
Yeah. And that's what we chose to do, right? And the people that can't, that aren't on that frequency, just think we're bonkers and just can't understand it. But
Oh
yeah, you're
yeah.
absolutely right. I mean, I'm part of a growing community of people, where the bartering has come back in. Somebody's growing whatever, somebody else is producing whatever. There's a project in Wales. I don't know if you know about it. It's called One Planet Development. In fact, my last podcast that went up this week, guy called Dave Silver. He's all about promissory notes and stuff like that. He's a military historian, but he's invested in this One Planet Development, and it's actually a council government organization. But I think there's some very good people that are running it, and you can literally go and buy old agricultural land for cheap, and you can build a dwelling on there, so you can live there as well. But you've got to produce more than you take, basically. So he's growing walnut trees, and he's going to do pickled walnuts or something like that. And you've got to, have your own electricity and water and all that. But you've got 5 years to do all of that.
Yeah.
And he reckons 30 grand, you could have yourself set up. And I'm like, that is so appealing. That is so appealing because you're going back to nature, you're going back to grow. I mean, I try and grow a bit of stuff in my garden, not always successfully, and this year's been a nightmare, but more and more people are going back to wanting, because we know how crap the food is, of growing their own, feeling safe that there's not a load of shit in it, even though there's stuff coming in the skies. Won't get into that one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so
I know.
but we're all feeling it, aren't we? And these communities are growing. They're
Yeah.
bartering, they're going back to nature, the simplicity. We want simple again. We don't want to be tied to electronics, devices, phones, all that sort of stuff. We want to be more at it.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's where my direction has gone. So I've really shifted in the last, I completely rebirthed what I do because I'm shifting and the way that I do things is completely shifting. So my wealth coaching is all about empowering people to launch, to be wealthy in a holistic way, to trade their money, time, and energy and their power of themselves to found those things that are going to change and save the planet, right? Those things that we need that are going to be really amazing solutions that pro planet. And the podcast is all about shining a light. So the first founder that I had was a guy that I met in North Devon, Jack, and his partner in south of France, Joe, and they have a beautiful business called Drink Ocean, and it's about electrolytes to
Oh.
a really simple way to nourish your body. And I just get and I, by the way, I found these people by going to my run club, and I'm just like, okay, hello,
Go
this is
where? Your
weird.
run
All
club.
of these, my running club
You're
down the
running.
road.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm finding these people, and this is when you become magnetic. You magnetize in the people you need to speak to that are on your wavelength. And so so in the last 6 weeks, I'm now launching an in-person business where I am going to be providing wealth healing through Reiki and Swedish massage. Who would have thought I'd be a Reiki Swedish massage person? I'd have told you you're bonkers 12 months ago, alongside my wealth coaching one-to-one in North Devon, because I don't want to be necessarily always online. I want to be in person, in the community where I live, not driving around, polluting the planet, where I can then go and buy my coffee from that local barista, where I can go and go to my local farm shop. What you've said, I feel like this is what is like North Devon is. This is what this is why my soul wanted to be in North Devon, because
Mm,
it's the place that I'm planting my next phase of my wildness and
mm,
rewilding and doing what I came here to do, which is to change the wealth frequency in North Devon and beyond, because
Yeah.
online does exist, right? And what I do is beyond that, but it's scary
Mm.
because I'm doing something. I'm doing massage therapy, and I'm like, and funnily enough, and this is why your dreams are really important, because when we dream and we go into that dream state, that is soul. That's where soul is, and it's showing you things, so it's guiding you. I used to dream about being a masseuse. And I've always been really attracted to it. And it's only last Monday that I started my Swedish massage course. And when I did it for the first time, one of my gifts is that I channel the energy, and it was amazing. And I knew that this is what I came one of the things that I came here to do, to
Amazing.
heal people that have trauma in their body, through the coaching, through the talk therapy, through that safe space that they have in a clinic. Because I've got a clinic in Barnstaple now with one of my other founder friends that's doing amazing things. And this is the thing that I think with what you're doing with your show, never settle. If you are in a place where you do not like what you do, you might feel stuck. You might not know what it is you need to do, but there is you can do anything.
Yeah.
You could do anything, and it's all within you. You know what you need to do. You just need to start hearing yourself and giving yourself that time to stop talking. Like I love to talk.
Yeah.
Go silent and quiet and hear yourself.
You're absolutely right. And I'm also a Reiki practitioner as well. So, okay. Well, I mean, just in, I don't know, a few sentences, if somebody was like, I love what Emma's saying, and I'd really love to work with her, I just need a bit more clarity about what that looks like and feels like. So let's say somebody approaches you today and wants to have an initial call. What
Mm.
does it look like to work with you now that you've gone into this more planet holistic way of being?
I just love to really understand more about what people really care about. I ask so many questions. I ask the questions that people might feel are really awkward. What I find is that when I have a call with someone and they just book time in my diary, I have a 30-minute call, and it's just, I call it the Wealth Empowerment Curiosity Call. People will just tell me things that
Yeah.
they've never said before, because they know that they can share anything with me. It's that safe space. And I hear them and I listen and I reflect back. And where, wherever stage you're at, there's a way of working on your wealth, because I've created free resources. I have my podcast and YouTube channel for that reason, because I love to share tools. I share meditations. I share all of these tools that help you to think about wealth. And one of the things that I've created is my star portal, which is every month I host a star investment circle, and we talk and we get together and we talk about investing holistically in a different way. And it's a community that comes together with investment managers that are not 3D, right? With people that are in these amazing places, and we come together, and it's £8 a month,
Mm.
right? And I give 1 month free. And so wherever you are at, and there's no contracts, because I don't believe in contracts either anymore. I just can't do it. It's old school, old 3D world for me. There's always a way of working on your wealth, whatever stage you are at. And sometimes it just starts with having a conversation or just listening to something that I'm saying. I've got a little mastery class on the 24th of this month in my private Zoom room, which I can share the link to as well, which is just me talking about wealth and abundance and the way that I work and
Yeah.
things like that. So,
Yeah, I was going to say that. Where can people find you? You know, if somebody wants to go to your website or Insta or wherever it is you hang out, where's the best place to find you?
I love hanging out on Instagram. I would say if it's not YouTube, Instagram, I'm always in my stories. I'm showing my life on Instagram. I go behind the scenes of what I'm doing in my world on Instagram. So yeah, Emma, it's just at the Wealth Rebel is Instagram.
Yeah.
And then from there, all my links are on my Instagram page. Yeah, I would say I'm massively on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But I always used to tell them, and this is my imposter syndrome, Mel, coming up here. I used to be very much like, I'm not cool enough to be on Instagram. I'm too old for Instagram. I'm past it. And now I'm like, I am rocking Instagram. I'm down with the kids. I'm really in my zone, because I'm in Soul now. Soul has no age.
No.
Soul does not give a flying hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Instagram. Sorry. I'm one of those people, I struggle to say things in one word, but that's just who my soul is, not a one
Yeah.
word person.
That's cool. I am on Instagram, but not on Instagram really. I share some stuff, and it's purely because I don't like Mark Zuckerberg, which is
I
crazy.
hear you.
Yeah, I know, but I'm still on
Oh,
LinkedIn, which is Bill Gates, right? So either way. But
I
for me,
hear you.
yeah, for me, LinkedIn has been, I don't know, has resonated a bit more for right now. Okay, well
I'm
that's
also on LinkedIn as
yeah,
well. So
yeah.
it's,
Well,
it's
that's
you
how
know,
we found each other,
right.
wasn't it? Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, I saw you. I was like, oh, I love what you do.
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we're getting close to the hour, Emma, and I've I've been very inspired with your story because I didn't know that much about you, obviously, until today, and just the way you are and the journey that you've been on, and your authentic soul, which is shining through massively. And I love what you're trying to achieve and what you will achieve because you're clearly a driven person, and I know it might look differently today than it did 20 years ago, but it's the same thing. You're just using energy more than logic or ambition or whatever.
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
love what you're doing, and I always finish these conversations with anything you feel called to share before we wrap up.
I would just, what you've just said is really, really just resonated. Energy is everything. Energy, they say change your energy, change your life. It's a really powerful thing. When you start to really focus on your energy and realizing that everything is energy. And that's what I believe wealth is. I now my saying is change your wealth, change your life, because I really feel that wealth is a representation of your energy. It's your experience of energy. And so if you want to be wealthy, just focus on everything that's already around you. Really, really start stepping into gratitude. I know it's dead cheesy, but being appreciative of every single moment that we have. It's a really simple thing to shift your energy and your focus and see what happens if you practice that energetic gratitude for, even for the first sip of water that you take in the morning. Do that for 28 days and look back and see maybe some things that have come in that you didn't expect, and start trying. One of the beautiful things I think when you wake up to life is synchronicities.
Mm.
Deja vu does not happen. Notice the synchronicities. Start to notice things. Start to make a note in your journal and start to take note of things that happen, because that is the universe communicating with you. It really is. I've been, when you wake up and you're just like, okay, you can stop now with the synchronicities. Yes, you like, they start hitting you on the head with certain things and it can get a little bit overwhelming. And that's another thing. It can be overwhelming, but you can ask the universe for a break. Just
Mm.
today, please don't send me anything else. I'm really tired today and I want to have a rest. And it's okay to rest
Yeah.
because it's all energy.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Thank you for that. Wise words indeed. Like the other night, I just felt, and I'm doing this more and more about the being, especially the feminine energy is more about the being, right?
Yeah.
Just had to have a bath. I had so much to do and I was stressing, but it could all wait. I got in the bath. And that is just soul nourishing, isn't it? And it shifts your energy and it allows whatever release is coming up as well. So yeah, totally, totally. So, amazing. Thank you, Emma. It's been an absolute
You're
pleasure.
welcome.
I wish you all the very best in everything that you're doing and the people that you're
Thank
attracting.
you.
And I'm excited to see what comes next for you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute dream. Thank you.
Thank you.